Hi everyone, Sue Cook here. I wanted to talk to you today about why I'm so passionate about health and how I got into it. Because, lately I've been posting videos on crystals and it might just seem a little bit disjointed to people who know me as a homeopath or a neurodevelopment specialist. And I don't see these things as separate. So if I give you my background, you might understand. When I was 19, I had a really severe case of glandular fever. According to my blood test, it was one of the most severe cases they'd ever had. And they said it's a virus, we can't do anything to treat you. So I was basically left to rot on the sofa, nearly choked to death one night because my jaw was so dislocated due to the swelling in my throat. Saw my life flash before me, thought I was going to die. My brain was going, Sue, come on, you're 19, fight this. And my body was going, haven't eaten for 2 weeks, haven't got any energy, sorry. Eventually I coughed and managed to start breathing again. But that changed my life because I just thought, well, how can you just leave people to die in that state? And I started investigating. This is before the internet. This is in the very early 80s. This is before the internet, and all I had was books and libraries. And I started looking at herbs. Because herbs, plants interest me, and I learned that there are things you can do for viruses and illnesses like that, and so that's how my fascination with plants and herbs happened. Then a friend of mine at the time was seeing a homeopath, and she persuaded me to go and see her because I'd got IBS at the time. And of course they say there's no cure for that. So I went along, saw a homeopath, got better, and started seeing her regularly for various things that were coming up, because after the glandular fever I started taking my health very seriously. And so eventually, I think I was 30 when I went to university and did my degree in health science, specialising in homeopathy. And we were working at the University of Westminster part-time, and while we were there our modules were taught by medical doctors mostly. So we were taught all the anatomy, physiology and everything. It's basically a pre-med. And then when we were at the separate homeopathy college, we were being taught the principles, philosophy, materia, medica, etc., case taking and all of that in homeopathy. So I did that degree for 3 years, then set up my clinic. Then got pregnant with my son, who was a little bit on the dyslexic side, and then that sent me down another rabbit hole of doing neurodevelopment, because again I was told there's no cure, you have to learn to live with it. But my kid wasn't happy, so I did my best to sort him out, and I did that. I did neurodevelopment, and I was taught by a wonderful 82-year-old in Oregon, and she encouraged me to just keep on learning neurodevelopment because I only learned it to help him. And people at school my son's school saw the improvements in him, and then they all wanted some. And it was like news of that went out like a shockwave. And within 3 months, I'd worked with over 100 families. It was mental. So then I started doing that professionally, working with patients with neurodevelopment issues. And I did that until, for years. And it was all accidental. It was never planned. So now, I don't need to be seeing patients. Everything's written down. It's on courses on Teachable, or people can see me if they want. So I lapsed and didn't do a huge amount of homeopathy in those intervening years, but I've been doing a lot more recently. I think one of the issues that there's been is that people haven't been able to get appointments with a GP, or it's been too long. And so I've been working with acutes. Acutes are illnesses that are short and sharp, that go away after a while. They either kill you or you recover. So coughs, colds, injuries, accidents, things like that. You know what acutes are. And then chronics are things that last for more than 3 months. So that might be things like arthritis, chronic asthma. Obviously when you get an asthma attack, that is an acute of a chronic. But chronic things, so cancers and long-term bowel disorders, those are all chronic illnesses, but we can treat both in homeopathy. But acutes you can treat quickly, 10-15 minute appointment. A chronic you need an hour for a good case taking, the history and all of that, so you can really get to the root of it. So that's been my absolute passion, is helping people, because I don't want anyone to ever feel like I felt at 19, that person there, or, you know, when I had the IBS in my mid-20s, or somebody who's feeling like they've got a child who's got learning issues, or, you know, he's just simply not happy. It's a different problem if, you know, different situation if they're fine, but if they're not and their family is struggling, then, you know, I didn't want to be that mum. I wanted to help my kids, so I did. And I make things out of crystals. Let's see what I've got handy. Is this one? I'm not wearing any of my own today because I was given this wonderful Berber necklace for Valentine's by my partner. Oh yeah, I am. I'm wearing pearls, black pearls. Yeah. So, but crystals, so what? Supposing they make you feel good, great. Use it. Anything we can do to improve our health, our well-being, and our mental state, especially in these times which are very turbulent. I think anything that we can find that calms us down is really helpful. I've also written a load of books to help people. I've written 2 on nutrition because my dad had ADHD, and he also had loads of food intolerances, which tends to go with ADHD. And I found myself with my patients always telling them the same thing. So I wrote a book that was called Nutrition for Special Needs. I wrote it with my dear friend Karen Stevenson from university, who did the degree with me, but then she went on to be actually qualified in nutrition. I'm not. I just did a lot about it at university. Perhaps I should do that. And then another one called Eat for Your Brain, which is like, I kind of modelled it on Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. So you look and you find the nutrient and see what it does, or you can look up your symptoms and see which nutrient you need. So it's all based on superfoods. And that one actually, within days of it being launched, was my bestseller, because all my practitioner friends had it on their desk for their patients. You know, what do we need for this? And it's very, 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 very easy to use. And of course the public can use that as well, as they can, all of them. But it's all been about helping people and finding a way to give people peace and to help them overcome trauma, because there's so much trauma around. And that leads me on to EMDR, which I learned recently, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That helped me a long time ago. My dear friend Jenny Lynn, she did EMDR with me about 13, 14 years ago when I'd got a trauma I couldn't deal with, and it just went. I mean, I still remember it, but the pain and the trauma associated with it is gone. I've also learned hypnotherapy, but I haven't really practiced it. But it's all about just finding things that are going to help people and work for your patients and what people need, and being resourceful, and also understanding that none of us have all of the answers. We don't. You might need to experiment with 3 or 4 different therapists or practitioners or paradigms, or maybe this homeopath works for you, or maybe this one does, before you find somebody who's on your wavelength. So I think it's very much about, you know, suck it and see, do what works and find out. There's so many different healing modalities coming out, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I could talk for hours about this. I'm trying not to keep this to be a long video. It's just really an introduction into my stance on healing and how motivated I have always been since I was 19 to transform people's lives if they want that, and come and find me and to help them using every resource available. And if I don't know the answer, I am confident to refer. It's not about, oh, I've got to be doing this or anything like that, and it never has been. But yeah, there's some really good stuff going on. You know, Joe Dispenza, I do a Joe Dispenza meditation most days, and you know, these things that keep your vibration high. I think it's really important. But that's enough from me for now. I'm Sue Cook. My website is brainbuzz.co.uk. Brainbuzz has 3 Zs. Probably wasn't a wise idea, but that's 11 years that's been Brainbuzz. And there is a link tree link on my Instagram. If you look Sue Cook Brainbuzz, there's a link tree, or Finishing Touches by Susie, which is all my craft things I make. There's a link tree with links to my courses, my books, my website, my everything else. And you know, I make toothpaste courses and I make deodorant courses, and I make those for myself. I try and limit the amount of chemicals that come into my body, and I clean my house with lemon juice and vinegar and bicarb. So, you know, really keeping chemical exposure down. But you can find out more about me. I'll post this on my YouTube, which is the Child Brain Whisperer, and I hopefully get the comments so that you can comment and ask me stuff if you want to. But anyway, been nice chatting. Thank you.